Long before we ever learned to measure time, the universe was already moving to a rhythm, an invisible symphony echoing through stars and atoms alike. Every wave, every breath, every heartbeat you've ever felt, it all belongs to the same cosmic dance. This isn't poetry. It's the oldest law written into the bones of reality itself, the law of rhythm. Everything swings, everything breathes, the pendulum never sleeps. Imagine for a moment that the universe is not a machine, but a dancer, swirling endlessly between creation and destruction, between light and shadow, between the inhale and the exhale of existence. What we call beginnings and endings are nothing but pauses between movements in this grand choreography of being. The rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, and even the flicker of emotion within your heart. All of them follow this same pulse. This rhythm is silent, yet it speaks through everything. It whispers through the tides as they advance and retreat. It hums in the cycle of the seasons when winter yields to spring and decay births new life. It vibrates in your blood as your heart contracts and expands, endlessly keeping time with eternity. And if you listen, truly listen, you can feel it guiding even the quietest moments of your life. The ancients called this the fifth Hermetic principle. They said that all things rise and fall according to the same wave that moves the sun and moon. You can see it in the spiral of galaxies and in the beating wings of a bird. What goes up must one day descend. What is born must one day return. Even the universe itself, which now expands into infinity, will someday contract back into the mystery from which it came. An infinite inhale, followed by the inevitable exhale of God. The law of rhythm is not meant to frighten us, but to awaken us. It's a reminder that nothing is permanent, not our joy, not our pain, not even our struggles. Everything moves, everything transforms, and when we begin to see this truth, we stop clinging to the highs and fearing the lows. We begin to surf the waves instead of drowning in them. Look at your own life. Have you noticed how it ebbs and flows? Moments of light followed by shadows, days of energy followed by quiet fatigue, bursts of inspiration followed by stillness? That's not chaos, that's rhythm. The same intelligence that moves the stars moves through you. You are part of the pulse of existence. But here's the paradox. While everything moves, the center of the pendulum never does. The secret then is not to fight the swing, but to find your still point within it. When the world rises, you rise with grace. When it falls, you descend with wisdom. This is how the masters lived. Not by resisting the rhythm, but by becoming aware of it. On the stage of the cosmos, rhythm is the unseen conductor. Galaxies spin in spirals, stars are born and die in explosions of light, and each particle hums in a frequency that sustains the harmony of the whole. The same pattern repeats from the smallest atom to the largest sun. Nothing is still, and yet, in this infinite motion, everything is balanced. The sun rises and sets with impeccable precision. The moon waxes and wanes, pulling the ocean's tides and even stirring the tides within our blood. The universe breathes, expanding and contracting like a living being. And the earth, our home, follows its own sacred rhythm. Spring awakening life, summer nourishing it, autumn gathering its fruits, and winter letting it rest. We too are woven into this rhythm. Our hearts beat, our lungs breathe, our emotions rise and fall. Yet we often fight this truth. Chasing the highs, fearing the lows, trying to freeze the dance instead of flowing with it. But the more we resist, the more painful the swing becomes. The wise have always known this. They said that chaos is not disorder, it's rhythm misunderstood. Behind every storm lies symmetry. Behind every apparent collapse lies a hidden pattern seeking balance. Once you see this, even your hardest days begin to make sense. because every descent is only preparing you for the next rise. The law of rhythm doesn't punish, it balances. It restores what we forget. It ensures that after every dark night, the sun must rise. After every loss, something new is born. After every silence, the music begins again. In your life, this law governs every cycle. Youth brings discovery and desire. Adulthood brings creation and consequence. Age brings reflection and wisdom. Even our emotions dance to this rhythm. Moments of joy followed by quiet sorrow. Bursts of passion followed by calm introspection. And just as the tide withdraws to gather strength for its next wave, our spirit retreats sometimes not to die but to prepare for its next expansion. So when you find yourself in decline, when everything seems to recede, remember the pendulum always swings back. This is not the end. It's simply the other side of motion. The universe doesn't punish your stillness. It uses it to create contrast, so that when the wave returns, you can ride it with even greater clarity. The law of rhythm is the pulse of the divine itself, the breath of eternity moving through all that lives. To fight it is to fight life itself, but to flow with it, science, is to dance with God. Everything you've ever known, every victory, heartbreak, sunrise, and storm, is part of that same silent heartbeat of creation. Once you begin to see life through this lens, you'll notice how every ending is already a new beginning disguised as loss. Every retreat is just the universe taking a breath before moving again. You see, the law of rhythm doesn't only shape galaxies and oceans, it breathes through you. Your emotions, your energy, your very thoughts move in waves. One day you feel unstoppable, charged with creativity and fire. The next, you might sink into silence and reflection. That's not failure, that's rhythm, the swing of the pendulum within you. Most people resist this. When joy comes, they cling to it, desperate to hold the light forever. But joy, like the tide, must ebb. And when sadness arrives, they fight against it, drowning in the illusion that the night will never end. But just as dawn follows darkness, your inner tides are always shifting. The wise do not fight these movements. They observe. They breathe through them. They understand that both joy and sorrow are sacred instruments in the same divine song. For how could we recognize light without shadow? How could we cherish peace without chaos? The pendulum must swing. It's how the universe maintains balance. Hermes Trismegistus once said, "The master is not enslaved by the pendulum. He observes its motion but does not let it carry him away." This is the heart of mastery, not to stop the motion but to rise above it. To remain centered, calm, and aware even as life sways from one extreme to another. When strong emotions arise, whether love, anger, fear, or elation, pause. Feel the movement of the pendulum. Ask yourself, which direction is it swinging? What is it trying to teach me? By watching the motion rather than being consumed by it, you begin to move closer to balance, the still point in the center of all change. Think of your emotions like weather patterns. Some days, the sky of your mind is clear and bright. On others, storms roll through with thunder and rain. You don't control the weather, but you can learn how to walk through it. You can choose not to curse the storm, but to let it wash the air clean. You can choose not to chase the sun, but to trust that it will return. This is what the law of rhythm teaches: neutrality. You are not the storm nor the sunshine. You are the vast sky that holds them both. When you realize this, peace becomes your natural state. And yet, there's another layer, a deeper truth hidden within the rhythm, the law of compensation. Every movement to one side of the pendulum creates an equal movement to the other. Every joy balances a sorrow. Every gain mirrors a loss. The universe, in its perfect wisdom, always restores equilibrium. Nothing is given without something returned. Nothing is taken without something replaced. This isn't punishment, it's harmony. It's the cosmic accountant keeping balance in the eternal ledger of life. When you feel immense pleasure, somewhere within your soul, an echo of its opposite is already written, not as suffering, but as balance. When you endure great pain, you are unknowingly creating space for an equal joy yet to come. The universe never forgets to compensate. Look around, the evidence is everywhere. The tides rise and fall in perfect measure. The seasons turn, alternating between abundance and stillness. Even the arc of a ball thrown into the sky reflects this law. The higher it rises, the deeper it must fall. The rhythm compensates, always. But here's the hidden beauty. This law doesn't only apply to matter, but to spirit. The depth of one's sorrow defines the capacity for joy. The soul that has wept deeply can laugh freely. The one who has endured silence can recognize the rare music of peace. Suffering, then, is not a curse. It's an initiation. Each hardship carves deeper channels in the heart, so that when the river of joy returns, it can flow more fully through you. The universe never wastes pain. It transforms it into wisdom. And yet most of us resist compensation. We crave the highs and fear the lows. But the pendulum doesn't care for our preferences. The harder we push toward one extreme, the stronger it will swing back. The more we cling to pleasure, the more pain we invite. Not as punishment, but as a correction. The secret then is to stop pushing, stop chasing eternal happiness or permanent calm. Both are illusions. Life is motion, sacred, rhythmic, alive. To demand stillness from it is to demand death. Instead, learn to stand in the middle, in that silent axis where the pendulum's motion pauses before changing direction. That is where the masters live. That is where peace resides. When the pendulum swings to the right, they smile, knowing it will soon return. When it swings left, they breathe, knowing the tide will rise again. Nothing is lost, only transformed. The law of compensation reveals that all opposites are lovers in disguise, eternally seeking reunion. Gain and loss, joy and pain, rise and fall. They are not enemies, but partners in the dance. To reject one is to reject half of life. So the next time life pulls you down, remember, it's only gathering momentum to lift you higher. Everything that leaves your hands, every person, dream, or moment that slips away, it's not gone. It's simply circling back through the rhythm, finding its way into a new form. And when you begin to trust that, truly trust it, fear disappears. Because you finally understand, nothing in this universe is ever wasted. Nothing is truly gone, it just changes rhythm. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, never loses its balance. Only we do when we forget the rhythm. The moment we think we can hold on to pleasure forever or escape pain completely, we step out of harmony with the pulse of life itself. But when we surrender to its motion, or when we learn to move with the swing instead of fighting it, something changes. We stop being victims of circumstance and become conscious dancers in the great symphony of existence. Every expansion is followed by contraction, every inhale by an exhale. The heart that beats in your chest knows this law better than your mind ever could. It doesn't panic when it contracts, nor does it cling when it expands. It trusts the flow. That trust is what we call life. Think about the times in your life when everything seemed to fall apart, when the tide receded and left you standing on dry ground. You might have felt abandoned, cursed, or lost. But what if that retreat was not punishment, but preparation? What if the emptiness was simply space being made for the next wave? The universe must pull back before it can surge forward. That's how the rhythm restores power. In this way, even our deepest losses can become sacred. The heartbreak that shatters your soul, the failure that humbles your pride, the silence that follows chaos. They are not endings. They are intervals in the music, necessary pauses where the next melody gathers strength. And if you listen closely enough, you can almost hear it. The faint hum beneath all experience, the pulse that connects galaxies to grains of sand. That hum is the law of rhythm itself, the whisper of eternity repeating, everything changes but nothing is lost. The ancients understood this far better than we do. To them, rhythm wasn't a metaphor. It was the architecture of reality. From the turning of the heavens to the beating of a bird's wings, they saw the same divine symmetry. They observed how nations rise, flourish, and fall, only for others to rise in their place. How empires are born from chaos and crumble into silence, how every death feeds a new birth. To them, the law was not cruel, and it was compassionate because it promised that nothing would ever be final. Even pain, when viewed through the lens of rhythm, becomes a teacher. The pendulum never swings toward suffering without preparing the equal swing toward peace. The depth of your despair measures the height of your awakening. The nights you thought would never end are what sharpen your eyes to recognize the first light of dawn. And yet, the greatest secret of all is this. While the pendulum swings eternally, there is a still point at its center that never moves. That stillness, that awareness, is who you truly are. When you stop identifying with the swings, the highs of success, the lows of defeat, the floods of emotion, you begin to rest in the center. You become the watcher, the silent witness of rhythm, not its prisoner. And from that space, a strange kind of freedom arises, one that doesn't depend on circumstances because it flows with all of them. This is what mystics mean when they speak of transcendence. It's not about escaping the world, but about seeing it clearly. Seeing that rise and fall, gain and loss are simply movements of the same divine pendulum. Once you see this, even suffering softens. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start whispering, "So this is the rhythm today." In that acceptance lies mastery. Look deeper, and you'll see the law of rhythm reflected even in human destiny. The wealthy and the poor, the powerful and the humble, all dance to it in different tempos. The rich may enjoy abundance, yet often pay for it with restlessness or loneliness. The poor may struggle, yet find peace and simplicity. Every advantage carries its shadow. Every shadow hides a hidden blessing. This is compensation, the universe's invisible justice. For nothing is ever truly one-sided. The pendulum demands balance. The joy that lifts you must one day teach you humility. The sorrow that breaks you will one day open your heart to compassion. The law ensures that no soul remains forever in light or darkness. Both are teachers. Both are medicine. When you understand this, gratitude becomes your natural response to everything. You stop dividing life into good and bad. You begin to see patterns instead of problems, lessons instead of losses. And here lies the beauty. Once you live with awareness of this rhythm, you can begin to predict it. You start noticing when the tide is turning. After periods of intense activity, you anticipate rest. After stillness, you prepare for motion. You learn to plant seeds in spring and harvest them in autumn. Not only in the world, but within yourself. Imagine living that way, not being thrown around by change, but flowing through it consciously. That's what the masters of rhythm do. They feel the coming wave before it rises. They conserve their energy when the current is weak and move when it's strong. Life stops being a struggle and becomes a dance again. And yes, there will still be pain. But when you know that the pendulum must always return, you no longer despair. You begin to see meaning in everything, the losses, the delays, even the heartbreaks, because they're all part of a divine choreography too perfect for us to comprehend in the moment. The same power that guides the stars is guiding you. The same rhythm that breathes through the cosmos breathes through your story. And when you align with it, when you trust the swing, you begin to live in tune with the pulse of creation itself. You stop asking life to be easy and start asking to be awake. Because once you awaken to the rhythm, you can no longer be trapped by its motion. So where does all of this lead? What is the final purpose of understanding the rhythm of life? This endless swing between creation and dissolution, joy and sorrow, gain and loss. The answer is simple yet profound. Freedom. Freedom from the illusion of permanence. Freedom from the desperate clinging to highs or the fearful avoidance of lows. Freedom from identifying yourself with any single moment in time. When you realize that everything moves in cycles, you no longer beg the universe to stop. You simply learn to move with it. Imagine a surfer riding a vast ancient wave. He doesn't command the ocean. He listens to it. He studies its flow, waits for its rise, and when the moment comes, he moves. Not against it, but with it. That's how the awakened soul lives. Not in resistance, but in harmony. The law of rhythm, once understood, becomes your greatest ally. You stop being surprised by the storms because you know they're part of the same wind that brings the calm. You no longer curse the night because you've learned that it protects the dawn. You stop chasing eternity in moments and begin to taste eternity through moments. Every experience becomes sacred, not because it lasts, but because it flows. Even pain carries light within it, just as darkness holds the stars. Every fall becomes a return, every silence a preparation for music. But here's the hidden secret that few ever grasp. You can rise above the swing itself. You cannot stop the pendulum, but you can rise to a higher plane of awareness. A level where the swing becomes smaller, the noise softer, and the peace deeper. This is what the Hermetic masters meant when they said, by rising above the law, one becomes its master. You don't change the rhythm. You change your relationship to it. You stop being the dancer lost in the motion and become the witness of the dance itself. In this awareness, even time begins to lose its grip. You start to sense that beneath the endless motion there is a stillness that has never moved. It was there before your first breath, and it will remain long after your last. It is the center of the pendulum, the eternal now, and it is where your true self lives. Every breath you take is a mirror of this truth. Inhale, exhale, expansion, contraction, the rhythm of life and death repeating in miniature. And yet, who is it that breathes? Who is it that watches the breath? That watcher, that quiet consciousness, is untouched by rhythm. It is the axis around which everything turns. It is the soul. When you rest in that awareness, the chaos of the world can swirl around you, but it no longer owns you. You can walk through the storms of change with serenity because you no longer confuse movement with meaning. You know that meaning lives in the center, in the silence between extremes. From that center, life becomes a dance of grace. You feel the tides within yourself and move in harmony with them. When energy rises, you create. When it falls, you rest. When joy visits, you celebrate. When sorrow arrives, you listen. No resistance, no fear, just rhythm. And in that rhythm, peace. This is what it means to live by the etheric compass. To navigate not by control, but by attunement. To sense the subtle pull of the universe and align your being to it. To trust that every motion, no matter how small or painful, is part of a grander design moving you toward balance. Even now, as you listen, there is rhythm in your heartbeat, in the faint pulse behind your temples, in the rise and fall of your chest. You are not separate from the law. You are the law, expressed in human form. The universe doesn't move around you, it moves through you. Every thought, every emotion, every breath is a wave in that eternal sea. The great mystics said, "As above, so below, as within, so without." The rhythm of the stars is the rhythm of your soul. The harmony that shapes the cosmos is the same harmony that can shape your mind, if only you learn to listen. So learn to listen, not just with your ears, but with your entire being. Listen to the rise and fall of your moods. Listen to the cycles of energy that move through your days. Listen to the quiet moments that seem empty. They're not empty at all. They're pregnant with rebirth. You will find that nothing is random. The setbacks that once broke you were merely contractions before expansion. The loneliness you felt was the silence before connection. The chaos was just the rhythm tuning you, preparing you for clarity. Life will never stop swinging, but you can stop being swung. That is the real meaning of the law of rhythm. It's not a cosmic prison, it's a key. It teaches you to trust impermanence, to embrace change, to find stillness in the storm. It reminds you that what falls will rise again, and what rises will one day rest. It teaches you that every pulse, every breath, every ending is part of the same divine heartbeat. So the next time you feel lost in the tides, remember this: the universe is not working against you. It's dancing with you. Every wave that knocks you down is the same wave that lifts you higher. Every silence that empties you is the same silence from which new creation will be born. The rhythm never stops, but neither does the spirit. You are part of the eternal dance, the pulse between light and darkness, motion and stillness, death and rebirth. And when you finally learn to hear that rhythm, not just with your ears but with your soul, you'll understand what it truly means to be alive. This is the hidden wisdom of the cosmos. This is the eternal breath of God. This is the law of rhythm,